This is Drive Time with Graham Stewart this afternoon. The Prime Minister has said he expects to discuss Joe Biden's flagship package of investment in green industries when he meets the President during his trip to the US. Rishi Sunak is in Washington ahead of talks at the White House tomorrow. Let's speak to Ian Houston, who's a Global Scot Business Ambassador. He's also a Herald columnist and an honorary professor at the University of the West of Scotland. And Ian, you'll be attending an event with the Prime Minister in the US capital this evening. What do you hope that Britain can get out of this?
Well, Graham, first of all, the Prime Minister's visit is historic for a number of different reasons. But I hope what will happen here is the Prime Minister visited the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier today at Arlington Cemetery, just a reminder of this historic relationship that has occurred between our peoples for generations. I'm reminded of Churchill's trip to the United States and Washington when he met with Roosevelt in 1941. The relationship has really blossomed since then. And so I think the dialogue that occurs between the Prime Minister and the President is key. I think it's so very important, as you know, that the policy dialogue that will be discussed is boosting green technology, free trade, the war in Ukraine, regulation of artificial intelligence, which is really one of the key issues of our time. I think that what I feel should come out of this is a plan, is a strategic approach of what to do, very specific steps of what the United States and the UK can do in this contemporary window that we have in partnership. And I think the Prime Minister can be a vehicle for moving the White House in a certain direction.
Do you think that companies here in the UK could take advantage of the US's investment in green technologies?
Absolutely. And this is one of the discussion points. It relates directly to legislation that passed recently here in the Congress that really is stimulating this sector. And whether or not British companies can take part of this, I think that will be the sensitivity, that will be the diplomatic dialogue to discuss whether or not there are opportunities for UK firms. Certainly, Scotland has many sectors and industries that can play a direct part in supporting this goal of advancing this technology.
Do you think that the US president is ready to do business with Britain? We know that Joe Biden hasn't particularly been a fan of Brexit. We know that Rishi Sunak is hoping for a trade deal. That doesn't look particularly likely. Do you think there can be an agreement between the two countries?
Well, as you rightfully say, I think these talks, specifically as they relate to the UK-US free trade deal, are not going to happen. But your listeners need to understand that many trade deals are happening, comprehensive mini trade deals directly with states. There are about 20 in all that have been negotiated. So that's been the avenue for engagement directly with states. I think that's wise. I think that's a good approach, creative approach. President Biden will be familiar with that approach and encouraging of that engagement directly with states. So there are many areas of penetration for businesses and for governments to negotiate. Scotland itself has been really terrific in its engagement directly with states and cities. And so that's a real point of strategic and creative diplomatic economic engagement, is to focus in on those states and the trading relationships that happen.
How strong do you think the trading relationships are between Scotland and the various states of the United States, and how do you think we can best build upon that?
Well, it's huge. The trading relationship with Scotland directly with states is quite significant. Across the United States, we're talking about £5.5 billion. So it's not insignificant. How do we take advantage of that? We build capacity. You mentioned I'm a Global Scot. There are so many individuals and companies and entities from the diaspora that are ready to provide support within that state dynamic to support Scotland with its ambitions to enhance trade. Mostly, Graham, I think, for the small, medium enterprises in Scotland, that's a key sector of the economic output of Scotland with its trading engagement with the United States. So it's just really enhancing that capacity. Scottish government has done, I think, some wise things recently to develop a framework for mobilizing the Scottish diaspora to help with investment back into Scotland. And I think that's a wise course to take. So Prime Minister Sunak, I think that it is also important that when we think of history and these relationships between Churchill and Roosevelt, that we remember that Prime Minister Sunak has met with President Biden now 4 times. It's significant and historic also because he's the first British Asian Hindu Prime Minister to come to the White House as a representative of the United Kingdom. That is huge. And it's also important that we remember that First Minister Youssef is the first Asian and Muslim to hold that office in Scotland. That's an important message to send to America, the diversity that exists in the UK.
That's interesting. Ian Houston, Global Scots and Business Ambassador. Thanks so much indeed for that.